Hey, besties and bosses, happy Tuesday. I'm so excited to hang with you all today. We are diving into our monthly free masterclass, and I love all the stuff we talk about. I mean, y'all know I'm always saying, like, this is my favorite topic this week, but I have taught this masterclass in a slightly different way in the past, and this is definitely one of my favorites because it combines a couple of my loves. We are diving into words that sell today. So we're gonna be looking at copywriting and content, and it feels important to preface, I am not a copywriter, but I'm really great at copy and at content and supporting my clients with tapping into the words that help them connect with their people and sell that actually sounds like them. So hang with me, even if you don't feel like you're a copywriter. This is not about becoming a copywriter. It's about being a business owner and knowing how to craft words in a way that sell. But I love getting to do this training because I love the power and the craft of words and how we can really use words to connect with other humans and to sell. I think we forget sometimes how important the words we use are and how everything we do in business is about relationships, and what forms so much of our relationships are the words we use. And I also love this training, some of what we're gonna dive into today, because there's such a mindset component. So I think I teach the concept of content and copy and words that sell in a slightly different way than most people, because I really do wanna integrate that mindset aspect, because the words you say to yourself also really matter, and that first sale to yourself matters so much. So we're gonna combine both of those today. Jen says, hey Kim, I'm excited for this training. So happy to have you here. I'm super excited. So a little housekeeping before we dive in. First, I always forget to do this when we have giveaways, and then I remember at the 45-minute mark, and that's not fair to y'all. We are giving away a free one-on-one coaching session. All you have to do is comment. If you don't know what to say, drop a heart, drop a smiley face. The reason being, I won't know if you're watching now or on the replay. If you don't do that, we're going to give preference. My team is gonna pick a winner tomorrow. They're gonna give preference to people who left a comment live, but if you catch it a little bit later tonight or first thing tomorrow before my team hops in, you still have a chance to win. Y'all, the last few times we've done this, there haven't been that many comments, which means you have a really good chance at winning a free session. I don't offer single coaching sessions anymore. I only do intensives and ongoing spots. I'm generally booked out. We've been doing a fair amount of giveaways recently. I don't know how many more we can do for a hot second because I have to focus on my clients. My calendar is pretty full. So it's a great opportunity to win a free coaching session. So you're here. The reason we're doing this is I want to thank you for being here. These trainings tend to run a little longer. We usually will go, my lives are about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. This will probably go 60 to up to 90 minutes just so you can plan. So I want to thank you for being here. And I know you have so many places you could get and hang out with someone online. So that is my gift to you. So all you got to do is Jen put live, you can put live, you can put a heart. If you comment anyway, and if you don't want the session, you just let me know and we can give it to someone else. It's not, there's no hard feelings there. So really want to say that before we dive in. A couple other housekeeping things. Like I just said, this will probably run a little longer than my general lives. I have a lot I want to share with you. There will be a replay. We're not going to pull this down. So hang with me. I love having you live because then if you have questions, I can answer them. It's also nice energy for me, but there will be a replay, so don't stress about that. Hey Ruth, nice to have you here. And nice to see you, and thanks for the heart. So there will be a replay. If you did not sign up for this masterclass and you want access, we, instead of a playbook this time around, did a bonus cheat sheet with over 200 power words. This is literally what I use when I'm writing copy and content. They're like fun adjectives you can plug in to kind of boost up the words when you're writing copy. I think it's a pretty fun bonus. We'll drop the link again. If you sign up, we will send a couple replay links. I know we have at least 2 scheduled, so you can still get access to that playbook. So if you didn't get that, it's kimargetsinger.com/words-that-sell. I'll drop a link after this as well. Hey, nice to have you there. Thank you for all of you for participating and for being here. I think that's all of the housekeeping. Oh, because I've got some stuff I want to cover today, I probably will go, in a little bit on a roll. If you have questions, throw them in the comments. I'll see them. I'll come back to them. If you have comments, throw them here. But specifically, if something isn't clear or you want to hear more about that, just let me know. I'm gonna pull up my notes because I promised you a few things we're gonna dive into today. So what we're gonna chat about, we're gonna talk about the difference between copy and content and why that matters. We're gonna talk about where copy tends to fall flat and some easy places you can shift that. I really wanna avoid giving you just tips you can Google, like how to write subject lines or I don't know, just plug and play templates. We're gonna try to talk about some actual practical things, some context you can put into your copy so that it actually converts for you. So we're gonna talk about that. And I think this is probably the biggest thing for your messaging as well, but for copy that can make a huge shift for you. We're gonna talk about the mindset you have to cultivate for your copy to actually stand out and convert. I've got 3 easy ways to set up your copy. We're gonna go through a really simple framework you can use, you can steal, you can borrow. Probably more than 3 tips, but we're gonna go through just an outline there. So those are the main things we're gonna go through today. Again, if you have questions, let me know, but just so you know what we are covering. I do have more notes today because I want to make sure I actually give you all the things we talked about and I don't go off on my famous tangents, because y'all know I love me some freaking tangents. Okay, so I think the biggest thing here to start with is let's talk about the difference between copy and content, and let's also just chat. We talked briefly about, let's talk about this first, the difference between copy and content. So I think this gets really confusing for people. This is something I chat with clients about quite a bit. I think we often think that our content that we're putting out is also the same thing as copy. And then oftentimes I'll ask a client, hey, let's write a piece of copy, let's write a promo post, let's write a sales email, and they'll give it to me to review. And when I look, I'm like, well, here's why we're not converting more. What you wrote is beautiful and it's powerful and it's valuable, but it's a piece of content. It's not a piece of copy. And there is a difference. So copywriting, and again, really important to say here, you do not need to be a copywriter. This is not a training on how to be a copywriter. It's how to use your words to sell more in your business. We're just using the word copy because that way we can all be on the same page. You don't need to be a copywriter. That is not the goal here. Hey, sweetie, nice to have you live. But copywriting, I pulled up the definition here, but then I'll explain it a little bit better. It's the act or occupation of writing text for the purpose of advertising and other forms of marketing. The product, called copy or sales copy, is written content that aims to increase brand awareness and ultimately persuade a person or group to take particular action. So really, when we think about copy, when we think about words that sell, the goal is to have someone take a specific action. We call it a call to action, right? It's to persuade someone, it is to sell someone on something and then to take an action. Content is not necessarily, it might be a form of marketing, it might be to give them action, it might be to give value, you might have a call to action at the end, but often we might be persuading someone on an idea, we can make an argument that we're selling, but it's often not written from, or if it's a live stream or a reel or something like that, it's usually not coming from the place of selling someone on, persuading them on something and then having them take a specific action. Now, there is, okay, this is the way I like to think about it. You can use copywriting in your content, but content is not copywriting. Does that make sense? So you can use copywriting in your content. They're very, very intertwined that way, but content itself is not necessarily copywriting. So I think just seeing that separately, because I think, again, what happens so often is you'll write this long, beautiful post or do this long live stream and you think you're using words to sell. And then maybe at the very bottom, you'll put a CTA and then wonder why it's not converting. And oftentimes it's because we're thinking they're the same thing. And while they are part of the same family, they are slightly different. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit more through our live stream today. Hey, Laura, nice to have you, beautiful. And I don't know if you just hopped on live, but everyone who's hopping on live, because we're just getting started, a reminder, because I always forget to remind y'all, we are giving away a free one-on-one session. All you gotta do is comment, hearts, emojis, whatever you want. That'll get you entered. Technically it's while we're live, but my team will pick someone in the morning. So, if you get it in there before then, you got a good chance at winning a free coaching session. And if you are a client of mine, you still get to enter in that. There are no, we're just picking someone to thank you for being here and hanging with me and getting to talk some of my favorite things today. Laura said just hopped on. Yay, well, we're just getting started. Okay, so let me think, where the heck were we here with my notes? Okay, so something to think about we're talking about the difference here between copy and content for those of you just hopping on, just to lay the groundwork here before we workshop this a little bit more. The thing I want you to think about in terms of this difference, when I think about words that sell, I think we have to remember so often when we're selling, our goal is to create enough awareness around a problem that we're creating enough tension that someone sees they want to solve that problem or ease that pain. We talk about this a lot in here, but we're really basic as humans. We are wired to seek pain, or sorry, not to seek pain. We are wired to avoid pain and to seek pleasure. right? And so we have to think about this when we're selling, absolutely, in sales conversations, but also when we're writing copy or words that sell. And this is not to come from a manipulative place at all. If you're a business owner that has a solution that actually helps people and you're coming from integrity, this is actually a really beautiful thing. I like to think about it more as how can we create awareness around a problem and make sure we're creating enough awareness and tension around that so someone is aware of it and they realize, oh my gosh, this is really affecting me. And there is a solution here that I can ease this pain, or a solution here that will give me pleasure. And so if we think about that, it's just about how, I mean, this sounds so silly, but y'all have dated before. It's think about how we need a little tension if we're dating. That's kind of the difference between a friendship and a romantic relationship, right? A little bit of that sexual tension. It's kind of the same thing here. And I think not letting that be a bad thing. I know if you're here, you're heart-centered, you have so much integrity. And I think sometimes we hear those things and we think that makes us a bad person. Or I always say with marketing works, but we have to be responsible with our marketing. We need to make sure we're coming from integrity. So there are ways this can be used in a very schemy, yucky way. But I think there's a way this can come from so much integrity, but that really can be such a big difference between a piece of content and a piece of copy. And when I'm reviewing clients' copy, so often I'm leaving them the note of, right, but how do we bring this back to the problem? What's the problem for them? How do we create awareness around this? Or like, where's the tension here? We're bringing it back to we're giving them the answer and we're not keeping them in the tension. I'll explain this more as we go through. We're going to kind of workshop a little bit what goes into the actual words that sell, but hopefully this is making sense in terms of the difference between copy and content. What I'm doing right now, this is content. If this were copy, I would almost be teasing this out and I'd be chatting about when you signed up for this on the landing page about, maybe how frustrating it is to figure out what to say in a promo post, or how you might scroll the internet looking at what everyone else is saying and wondering what the heck you need to say to finally get someone to book a call. And you feel like no matter what you put out there, even if it's free, people don't click on that and buy, right? That would be more copy. And if you can see the difference there between me giving you kind of the answer here in content, that's creating a little problem awareness and a little bit of tension so that your brain is like, oh my gosh, that's true, that's me, how can I get the answer and solution to that? So hopefully that difference makes sense. And I say that again because I want us just to be able to see that difference, because if you know that difference, it's going to help you look at your own words when you're writing copy or when you're doing a live stream and selling at the end, and help you be able to plug in the gaps where maybe it's not converting as well as it could. Okay. I have this note here. I must have felt this was very, very important, y'all, because I have this 10 times in here. And I'm going to say it again. I'm not a copywriter. This is not about being a copywriter. I'm a really great coach who understands human psychology and understands what makes us tick and understands the power of words. And that's what we're talking about here today. So again, we look at the difference between copy and content, and we're looking at these things. I want you to invite you to think about this. I said we're going to think about this differently than I think how most people think about copywriting. I really want you to think through this through the lens of human psychology. What makes my people tick? The more you can think about what are the words my people are using and get into their mind and that human psychology piece, which is why we think about, right, that tension, that's what compels people to take action. That's what, when someone, it's rock bottom, so to say, when someone's aware of their pain point enough, they finally want to reach for that solution. When we can think through the lens of how people work, then we become such better service providers and we can pour that into our words. Copy, content, messaging still need to deep dive into these. Well, thank you for saying that, because we're going to do some copy today, but we'll talk a little bit about some stuff that'll apply to messaging. So I'll make sure to highlight the messaging piece, and it's also helpful for me to know because maybe we need to do a training on some content stuff. So thanks for letting me know that. And definitely let me know if you have questions as we're going through. Okay. I think we all understand the difference between content and copy, but if you have a question, let me know. We're gonna dive into some other things, but the last thing I want to preface here with copy. Copy is a part of your marketing strategy. Words that sell is a part of your marketing strategy. It is a craft like anything else. And the goal here, again, is not to make you a brilliant copywriter. It's to help you understand the concepts here so you can craft words that do sell. But I think just remembering this is a muscle like anything else. And so pay attention to what we're talking about today and put this into practice, but know the first time you do this, it might feel a little rickety. The third time you do it, it's gonna feel that much easier. The 10th time you do this, it's gonna feel like, oh, this is exactly like, this is how we write words that sell. So that feels important. I wanna make sure none of this feels like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I used to think copy was like this thing that was like this secret, like behind a vault that was super confusing. And I now just see it's really human psychology and understanding words, and it's just a practice like everything else. So just to make it feel a little bit more easy to digest for everyone. Okay, so first let's talk my favorite topic, mindset. So I said we were gonna approach this differently than just giving you all some worksheets and some templates. This is probably the most important piece, and I think this is why I teach Words That Sell copy a little bit differently. I think the mindset aspect to your Words That Sell is what is underneath the difference between if your copy converts or not. I know everyone here has seen, like, you can download templates for copy, and then people wonder, like, well, why does that template work for this person and not for that other person? Very much the context of what goes into those templates matters, and we're gonna follow the mindset out with the strategy here, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what we wanna put into the context for those frameworks. And so often the difference maker is the mindset component. And I think there's two big components here. There is your mindset, the words you say to yourself, and then there's also your audience's mindset. And I think so often when it comes to Words That Sell, we miss one of these pieces. So I think the first, and we're gonna break these both down. The first, Ruth says, it is amazing. It is amazing, isn't it, how people don't consider human psychology when dealing with humans. I love humans and our behaviors and just don't get that many oh my gosh, can't read today, y'all. And just don't get that many service providers don't. Amen. I'm so with you. I think what's really nice to what Ruth is saying and what we're talking about here, I think the more we can just see all of business is human psychology. And the more you can understand humans and human behavior and human psychology, and also understand us humans are pretty basic. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but we're pretty basic, we're pretty predictable. The more you can understand that, the more it can take our own psychology and emotionality out of things, and we can neutralize things, and we also then know really how to serve people at a deeper level and how to run our business more efficiently. So thank you, Ruth, for that. Okay. If you have hung out with me at all, you know I'm like bright red, y'all, today. Something I ate, I think, gave me a weird allergic reaction. Anyway, if I turn like super bright red, someone will leave me a comment and we'll worry about the reaction then. I don't know what I ate though. Anyway, y'all know if you have hung out with me at all, I'm so big on mindset and managing our mind. I absolutely think we need the clarity, strategy, and action piece, but this is the captain of your ship. It is 95% of the game, and yet for so much of business strategy, it is the piece we omit or we like kind of tack on at the end, and it really needs to be the foundation. And if we think about mindset, we're not going to do a whole mindset class today, but we're going to talk about how this shows up specifically in your copy and your Words That Sell. We have to think the words you say to yourself, you're essentially writing copy to yourself all day long. You are writing an advertising campaign to yourself, whether you like it or not. And so I like to think of it as we are our most important client and customer, and we have to start being mindful of the words we're using to sell to ourselves. Otherwise, it is crazy cakes to think if we're not selling to ourselves in an efficient, positive way, it's crazy to think we're then gonna go out and sell to someone else, because the words you use to speak to yourself are invariably going to end up in the words you use to sell to others, particularly if you're feeling insecure or imposter syndrome or anything like that. So I think just seeing how logical this is, and I just think it can be a helpful frame to think, oh, the words I'm using to myself all day long, that's marketing. So if I believe this, I can also see the power of marketing and the power of words, which means I need to be freaking mindful of the words I'm using. And my first job is to sell myself on myself and my work. When it comes to, again, we're not going to do a whole mindset class today. We'll do another workshop or live on that. But when it comes to your actual copy and words, I think where we see just a couple places you can notice this, where we can see the mindset, your own mindset showing up. I see a lot of times what happens is this is when you will, clients will really pull back on owning their work, owning their results, owning how great they specifically are at what they do. And this is why we've definitely done live streams on this in here, and we don't need to have a whole workshop on that today, but I think just making that connection and seeing, oh, if I'm having a hard time bragging on my work, sharing result, sharing testimonials, sharing why I specifically am the person someone should spend money through or invest through. That's a mindset piece that's showing up in my copy. It's really fascinating when I edit. I do a lot of, I'll review clients' copy or content for them, and it's really interesting how I can see mindset patterns popping up by the way they're pulling back or by the way they're downplaying their work. And so I think this is just a really helpful thing, again, to create awareness around. Do the mindset work separately, but in your copy, start to notice and look for, where am I pulling back? Where am I playing small? Where am I shrinking? Where am I downplaying? Where am I not owning my work or results? Because that is mindset that's showing up in the words for others. Really kind of like hack for this, an easy other place to notice and spot this is noticing where you use qualifying speech. I think this is one of the, it's really insidious. Qualifying speech are their words like just, maybe, probably. If you say a lot, we don't want to hate. We don't want to hate on speech patterns, and I don't want anyone to get in their head, but particularly in written content, you can start to notice just how many places you will even subtly pull back. And the reason this is so important, I mean, we think about for anyone who knows anything about branding and the psychology of colors and the psychology of fonts and the psychology of body language, all of the things we're doing, there is a message we send out non-verbally, even before we tap into words, that we give to our audience, that we give to people. I know I talk about so much about taking up space and how that's energetic as much as it is physical. You know, even here, if I was just sort of like talking with you guys like this today versus like having some energy, you can just even in body language, how that can change how something is communicated to another person. And then the same thing happens with those subtle word choices we use. Well, I don't want to put all of this emphasis where it's like your copy needs to be perfect and that's the one thing in your business that's going to make you money. That's absolutely not true. This is I like to think of these things as pressure-free. And I think we also want to be mindful and notice that our mindset, our energy, the words we use, especially those subtle words we pull back and we qualify and we shrink back, that does send a message to your audience. And we have to think and ask ourselves, what message is that sending? Is that sending the message I want? Am I intentionally saying the word just to maybe soften the blow and to maybe make it easier for someone to understand and digest something? Great, that's really intentional. Am I using qualifying speech or omitting things because I'm so afraid of how someone will take it because I don't actually believe in myself? That's not the message we necessarily want to send through our words. That's not going to support you in selling. I think we've talked in here so much about how you have to really have more belief in your offer than the person you're selling to, and that goes for the words you are using. So I think this is just a really helpful place where you can, it's kind of mindset work you can do for yourself. Notice where in your copy, in your words that sell, notice where some of your mindset patterns are playing out. See if you can shift them in there, and that's going to also help you strengthen that. You can use that as advertising for yourself and see if that can help also shift some of those thoughts and beliefs you have. Let me know if that is making sense. I'm gonna give you one more quick tip here and a quick place to own, and then I wanna, just because I wanna be mindful of time, we're gonna switch to the other mindset piece and then the practicals here. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Is it Zion? Let me know if there's a phonetic, so I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. But in words, there is no body language. It's the subtle words that take the place. That's gold. Thank you. I'm so happy that resonated. Thank you for like succinctly wrapping that in a bow, because that's exactly it. We don't have body language in our words, but the subtle word choice, that the words we choose to use absolutely are the body language, or they are the imagery. I mean, for those of you who are writers, you know, like for anyone who likes creative writing, the choice of word and how important that is. And if you're writing two different characters, if you're writing a story, you're going to use different words literally to have a conversation, to be able to identify those two different characters, because that's how powerful the words we use are. So it's no different than when we're writing copy. So what I find really helpful and what I think from a mindset energy perspective, because I think there's the words we choose to use, and then I think depending on our state, that's also going to really determine the words. Just like our state is going to determine our body language, our state is going to determine our choice of words when we go to write a piece of copy or when we go to speak a piece of copy. You can speak copy as well, absolutely. I would invite you to literally spend 2 minutes. Remind yourself of how great you are, and remind yourself of the people you're speaking to and your work and the problems you solve. Maybe go read a testimonial. Be your own best cheerleader and spend a moment to get into a state where you really are in that place of what I'm about to write is so valuable and this helps people so much. Think about what you want to own, and just having that small shift before you sit down to write is going to have your brain tap into different words, which is going to help you sell more. I know this is not as easy as like, here's my 7-step like template for copywriting, but you could kind of have zero strategy. And if you are writing from that place and energy, I promise you it would convert at a higher level than going and getting some like perfect strategy framework post and like plugging in the words from a place of hating on yourself and your business. So that, I think, I mean, we can just think about like, if you're thinking about, you know, how awesome you are and how awesome your work is and the amazing results your clients get versus I just need to write this post because I got to get it done. So I got to like give it to my team and send it out. Such a different energy. It's going to have such a different word choice. Hey, Marie. Ruth says, makes perfect sense. What you're saying about selling yourself is quite like the elevator pitch used to gain buy-in in a corporate environment. Exactly. It is exactly that. And it's the elevator pitch, not just to get buy-in with someone else, but it's also, we kind of have to get buy-in with ourselves first, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to be able to write words, right? We're just going to have like almost like hollow words. Y'all have been there at some point. I know probably the first time I wrote copy, it probably was a little more hollow because I hadn't given myself my own elevator pitch yet. So I think just from a really practical, I'm just seeing here if there's anything else I wanted to share here. Just from a really practical place, if you're wanting to kind of tap into that mindset place, a really easy question I'll ask myself is just, what do I want to own? What do I wish people knew about me and my work? What am I really excited about? What do I want to scream from the rooftops? Like, what do I know about this that I know can really serve and help someone? And I usually will want to think about one person and just think about how whatever I'm selling, whether it's a free training or a coaching session or a program, I really just want to think about like, oh my gosh, how amazing is it going to be when they're on the other side, when they have that transformation before I sit down to write words. Shifting the mindset and energetic before writing the post copy. Yes, exactly. Okay. So let us, last piece here. I said I was done on this, but this is the last easy place. This is like the easiest place for you to do a spot check on your copy. Just notice where you're apologizing. I actually highlighted this in my notes because I think that's what qualifying words are, but I literally see this. Really brilliant people don't even realize they're doing it. It's hard to see the forest for our own trees. Notice where you're literally apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry to follow up. I'm so sorry to send this email. Or I'm sorry, just one more question. Or I'm sorry, this no pitch here. Or I'm sorry. Notice where this shows up in copy, because that's just another form of qualification. That's another place of way of playing small that really diminishes what copy is intended to do. Remember what we talked about earlier, copy, we want to keep people in tension. We want to create problem awareness, and then we want to help them see that your offer is the solution to ease that tension. If you're in there apologizing and qualifying and shrinking back, basically what you've done is you've shifted the tension to yourself, and you've asked the other person to relieve your tension by saying you're good enough, and the roles have been reversed. So we have to think, how can you be in the place of power, and not like in a power play way, but just like in owning your power in your work so that you can really hold that space even in a piece of copy. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, the other side of mindset, and this piece is equally important, is really thinking about the mindset of your people. I think so often we forget about this with copy, and it's everything we've been talking about here. Writing words that sell, all of business is human relationships, right? We are humans serving other humans. I don't care what it is you sell, you are dealing with humans. Even if you sell robotics, there's still a human that is going to pay for those robotics, right? Like we are in the business of humans, and humans, again, like we have to think about their mindset. Humans buy to avoid pain and to seek pleasure, and for a bunch of really common reasons. And so we want to get into, yes, your own mindset, and notice where that's showing up in your copy. But then we also want to get into the mind of your people. I think one of the biggest compliments you can ever get, one of my clients is celebrating this today because she just had this from a new client, is when someone says to you, oh my gosh, I feel like you just read my mind. I feel like you just read my journal. Like, how did you know? Like, were you over my shoulder? That's the biggest compliment you can get in content as well, but in copy, because it means you really understand your people. We talk so much about ICA and ideal client, and I think sometimes we like almost get wrapped around superficial qualities for your ideal client. And what I really think is most important is understanding, getting into their mind and understanding where they're at and what they're thinking about. The more you can understand that and the more you can tap into their words, we're talking about words that sell. The simplest thing I can tell you about understanding copy is the more you can get into the mind of your people and get into and hear the words that they say and how they say it, and then put that onto paper, the more your words will convert and sell. What I find trips up so many people is when it comes time to write copy or words that sell, we almost like want to prove that we're so great at what we do that we get like super smart and we start using like really big words, and we like want to prove all the things we know, and we want to turn copy into content and like give all this information. And it suddenly becomes all about the person writing the copy instead of the person we're selling to. And the win-win with copy, like brilliant copy, that selling to someone else is all about the person you're talking to. It's really not about you at all, outside of how you can be a solution. And the more you can get out of that, like I need to prove and sound smart, and the more you can instead get curious about what is my person thinking? How do they think about this? And what are the specific words they use? The more like that'll do your work for you. So often when I write a promo post, I'm literally thinking, what did a client tell me? What did someone tell me the other day? Like, what are the things I'm literally hearing? What are the words they're using? It's not so much what are the words Kim would use. How does Kim think about this? Who cares? Quite honestly, who cares what I think about any of this outside of how it can help someone solve their problem? And so I think that's where the mindset of someone else becomes so valuable. And the more you can focus on this first, the more that does all the work for you with everything else. And so I think even if we didn't talk about anything else today, we didn't talk about frameworks, and we didn't talk about, the strategy piece, if you get your mindset in check and bring your energy so that you're really showing up from a place of confidence and being sold on yourself and your copy, and then you get into the head of your people and you just speak to what you're hearing from their words, like you could be done with that alone. And I say that again because we keep coming back to this idea that you don't need to be a copywriter. This isn't about like how do you start a copywriting business and take 14 courses on copywriting. And I say that because, friends, let's be very honest. Kim 4 or 5 years ago almost plunked down thousands and thousands of dollars thinking she needed to buy copywriting courses, even though I'm a coach, because I thought it was just so important. And realizing, there's nothing wrong with copywriting courses. I love the craft of copywriting. I actually think it's really, really fascinating because it is so much human psychology. But I really want to invite you to see, like, you don't need to go down that rabbit hole that tends to be a distraction rabbit hole. Instead, like, how can you grasp these core things and say, I've got enough here. Now I can go out and sell with my words. Okay, so I think a couple easy things you can do here, because I think it can also be a little bit like, okay, great. So to get into the heads of my people, how do I like know what words they're saying? For those of you who do consultations, for those of you who do any kind of coaching or one-on-one calls, for those of you who have groups, for those of you who do any market research or free calls, those are all gold mines for you. I would invite you just to start to really listen to, how are my people talking about their challenges? What are they saying they want? How are they talking about the things they want? You can just keep a file. I used to have, I think at this point, I just like eat, sleep, breathe my people in the like least creepiest way possible, but I love my clients so much and I think I know them pretty well. But I think when I started, I had just a Google sheet and I would just write phrases and things down. I think that can be a really easy thing because you think you'll remember, but you might not. But then you also kind of get into the habit of really listening for that and noticing that. If you're someone who's like, I don't do one-on-one calls, like that's not what I do, I think you can always do market research. The other thing you can do, you're in a Facebook group here, right? Start to notice, who are your people? Literally, what are the words they're saying? How are they commenting? What's the content they write? Just notice some of the words they're using there, and that can be very, very helpful as well. So even without having to do 50 market research calls, which you can definitely do, I'm all for getting on the phone with people, but I think just seeing there's so many ways you can tap into that if you're having a hard time like kind of like creatively thinking your way into that. There's lots of practical ways you can tap into those words. I like to play with, we did a podcast episode on this. If I can think of which episode, I'll link to it. But I like to think specifically as it relates to what you sell, what you offer. How are people thinking about it? How are they going through their day? So I like to play with, like, can I go walk through their whole day and kind of like, what's their day like? What are their challenges? What's coming up for them? What are they saying to themselves? And then this was the question in the podcast. I also like to think if someone's had a cocktail, they're just like their inhibitions are down, or maybe they're just really, really tired, or they're like talking to their loved one where they don't have to like put on a front. How would they be complaining, or what would they be dreaming about as it relates to your product or service? Because those are the words that are going to be like the closest, that are really going to connect to someone, as opposed to like what might they say to a stranger, or like what's the thing they feel like they're supposed to say. We're trying to get out of those words and really tap into like, what do they say like when no one's looking? What do they write in their journal? What are they complaining and bitching about to their best friend as it relates to what you offer and sell? And what are they like, what do they put on their vision board? What do they write in their journal in terms of what they really want? Like, those are the things, like the more we can connect into that, and then how are they thinking about it? Not how are you thinking about it, not what do you want for them, how are they thinking about it? What are the words they use? Okay, I am hitting you over the head with that, but let me know if there's anything that you have a question around there. The last piece on this, and then we'll jump to some of the strategy framework piece, which is also pretty fun. This feels very important for me, and I think this will resonate with most of you because I do think y'all are very heart-centered, caring people. I really like to think through, because we've been talking about like what's going on in their head and kind of like what are their challenges and what are they struggling with, and creating problem awareness. I really like to think through how can we share these words in a way that is shining a light on something and creating awareness without making someone wrong. I think it's so important for us to see, like, this isn't a place, I think there's some like yucky marketing tactics out there, which are sort of come from the school of thought of how do we make someone feel as crappy as possible? And then like, we're the life raft solution. I mean, look, that'll work, but it'll also probably bring in people who are very needy or create a codependent dynamic, or it'll just feel really yucky in the energy exchange. I really like to think more from the lens of how do we shine a light on this? How do we speak to this? And more from a like, how do I put my hand out and say like, hey, I got you, I hear you, me too, I've been there, like I feel you on that. A lot of times, I'm sure you see this in my content, I'll say like, this is what the human brain does. My brain does this as well. So that we're normalizing and we're not saying, hey, you're wrong for having this challenge. It's more like, hey, if you're struggling with this, like no big deal. Lots of people do. And I've got a way to help you with this. So if that's helpful to hear, it's just something I like to be mindful of. And I always like to think, how can I make sure I'm not making anyone feel wrong or called out for this? I know sometimes it can feel like stuff calls you out because it's like, oh, like that really hits to my heart, but more how can I help create awareness, shine a light on, and let that be okay instead of making someone wrong. And then I think the other piece with that is just also seeing how can you, I think that helps you then connect the dots where it's like, there is hope. You don't have to, like, you're not stuck, but you're also not wrong. I think that also really empowers people to take action with whatever your call to action is. Okay, we're all about empowering people in sales here. Okay, let's pivot. So we've been talking more the mindset side. We've been talking about your mindset. We've been talking about your client's mindset. That is sort of like the foundation under your words that sell. We really want to have clarity around that. We really want to know that. And now we're going to pivot to some of the strategy side. We're going to talk some frameworks and like what actually goes into like, how do we actually like put this into words that sell? What is kind of the craft piece of the copywriting? And again, for anyone who's hopping on later, don't forget, if you comment below, any comment, hearts, you can say live, whatever you want, enters you to win a free one-on-one coaching session. We'll pick them in the morning. So if you watch this a little later tonight, you can still sneak in the entry and we can workshop your content and copy. Okay, so we're gonna dive into, I wanna share 2 simple frameworks with you, and then I'm going to share, I think, the specifics that make the biggest bang for your buck. Like if you were gonna not do anything else, these are the things I would really focus on when you're crafting your words that sell. So we can, again, like I think it's very easy to overthink this and get very perfectionistic or very worried where it's like, there is a perfect post that if I write this, this is going to make people buy. And I promise you, getting it out there is going to serve you more than overthinking it. So I'm gonna share some of this, and then my invitation to you is to take this, play with it, but really come from the school of done is better than perfect. Put it out into the world. Again, if you have the mindset of, I've got something awesome that can help people, that's gonna sell 10,000 times more anyway than anything else. And then let yourself just work with the tools here the more you practice them. I really do not want any of this to be something that anyone watching this is like, okay, now I'm gonna perfect one post for the next 3 weeks. If you do that, and I find out about that, I'm gonna lovingly give you a really hard time. Ruth says, is it wrong every time I hear the word pivot, I think of Friends? Pivot, I know exactly, it's with the sofa. I know exactly what episode you're talking about. It is not wrong, that is so right. That means you get me, and we are probably a similar age. Okay, let us talk about first a few core pieces you can put into your content. I'm gonna then go into the frameworks, and then I'll give you some tips there. So I think we've been talking about this in different ways, but the biggest thing you can think about when you're thinking about words that sell is speaking to a few core elements. One is really creating awareness around the problem you solve and the problem your person currently has. So I think this is I feel like I talk about this all the time, and I'm a broken record, but allow me to be a broken record because I also think it's so easy to miss. This is so the core of your business and your marketing. It's identifying what is the problem you solve and what is the problem you solve, and then making sure your people are aware they have that problem and not trying to solve a problem they don't want to have solved. I think sometimes we think we're solving a different problem than our clients do. And so getting clear on what's the problem you solve, but is that the same problem your people want solved? Which kind of goes back to getting into their mind. How do they think about this? How do they talk about this? If they're not aware of their problem, then your job becomes creating awareness around this problem and helping people understand why this is a problem that needs to be solved. So this is really important because I think what happens so often when I'm looking at clients' content, so often I notice they will speak to the concept of what they're selling, the concept of coaching, the concept of a mastermind, the concept of whatever, insert whatever it is, fitness training, right? The concept of something, as opposed to really looking at what is the specific problem I solve and the specific problem my people have that they want solved. And if they don't know, how to create awareness around that. Okay, so that's the first piece there. The second piece here is being clear on the results your people want and being able to articulate, if you have this problem and you solve it, here are the results my offer solution can give you. And we're gonna break down how you can do this in a moment, but these are, someone was asking, I think it was Ira, she was asking about messaging. These are components of your message as well, right? We get so worried about like the perfect words for the message, like this is really what we need in our messaging as well. This is what your words that sell need. I also know I've said this a million times. I'm gonna say it again for the person who hasn't heard me say this. When we think about results, I really wanna invite you to think about what are the results your people want? What are they aware that they want? It goes back to the mindset we were talking about. Get into your people's head when they've had a cocktail and they're talking to their husband or wife, or when they're journaling or when they're vision boarding, what's the thing they specifically want as a result of getting their problem solved? Not what is the result you want for them. You can speak to both. I mean, I'm sure I speak to both all the time, but we have to really think about this is not for us. No one really cares what we want for them until we help them understand why that matters. So really want you to invite you to think about that piece, because if you are a client of mine, you know the most annoying note I give you when I'm reviewing copy is tie this back to the results, connect this back to the results. What's in this for them? Why do they want this? Connect this back to why they want this. So I'm gonna say that to you. You can imagine that I'm in your Google Doc giving edits. Really want to invite you to think about that. And then the last piece here is to sell specifically why you and your offer are the solution that eases this tension or gives the pleasure and will get them those results. So again, this goes back to what I was just saying. I think it's very easy to sell the concept of something or to sell a general idea of something. I'm selling a coaching call or a coaching practice, right? then I can start talking about how great coaching is, and coaching is so powerful, and like coaching can really help you grow a business. That's great. I've just sold coaching, and now whoever is hearing that can go off and buy coaching from anyone. That doesn't tell anyone why, if I'm saying coaching is great and coaching, one-on-one coaching will help you build a business and make money, that doesn't tell you why you should hire me specifically. That does not tell you why my coaching, this specific call, this specific offer, this specific program is going to solve your specific problem and help you get the results you want, and why I'm the best place you should invest your money to get those results. Do we see the difference there? So really want to invite you to think about that, and just to notice if you've been putting out a lot of copy and maybe it hasn't been getting the conversions you want, take a look and see, am I selling something specific? Am I speaking to a specific problem, a specific result? And am I speaking specifically to my solution, to my offer, to why this call to action? Or am I being general to the problems and results? And am I being general and selling the concept of this, which kind of sells it for everyone in the industry? I mean, look, when people want to be general, it's about coaching. It's great because that means they're selling every coach ever, which includes you or me or anyone else who's watching this. So we want to think, wait, I got to make sure I'm selling my work. Ruth says 21, right? Oh yeah, I'm absolutely 21. Yes, we're both 21. Yes, yes. You know you're a certain age when that's a funny joke. No, everyone knows. I just turned 40, so everyone knows. I don't know, Ruth. You don't have to say how old you are, but I like being 40. I like owning that. Okay. Other piece here before we get into the framework, that if I was just gonna give you like really like quick and dirty, easy tips for words that sell. This is whether you're on a sales call or whether you are crafting copy. I really want you to remember, no one buys features. No one cares, frankly, how many calls you offer, what your workbooks are, like what kind of cotton is in the sheets that you sell. Like really no one cares about that much. They want to know, hey, my leg is bleeding. Do you have something that's gonna stop this from bleeding? I've got a problem. Can you help me? I'm drowning. Can you help me stop drowning? Not, can you sell me a life raft and tell me how this life raft has, I don't know, special ties that go around it and it lasts for 45 years. Like, can you just throw me a freaking life raft and stop me from drowning? These are horrible examples. I don't know why we went to all like people getting cut and drowning, but that's what we went with. But what we can see here with those silly examples is really, we're talking, when we're creating problem awareness and we're speaking to someone who has a challenge, all they're thinking about is, can you help me? Are you the person who can help me? I think I've probably shared this. I was an actress for a decade before starting my coaching business and before finding coaching, and we would audition, and I was on the casting side sometimes, and I helped cast a few projects. And I remember when I used to audition, I used to always like come at it from a different mindset. And as soon as I got into the casting director role, I realized we didn't care about much. All we cared about when someone walked in the door was, can they solve our problem? And our problem is we need to book someone into this role. We didn't care about like 800 of the things that when I was acting, I was worried about. We literally just thought, can you solve my problem? Which is, I need to book the XYZ role. Can you fit this role? And so the actors who got that and thought, my job is to solve this problem for casting and create this role for them, they booked the jobs, or they got higher up on the list. The people who thought it was about everything else and like wanted to talk about their resume and do all of these things, were like, we kind of didn't care. We just wanted to know, can you solve our problem? So same thing here. Just remember that, not that those details are not important, but I think so often it's really easy to get wrapped around those things and to forget the very thing we need to speak to. It goes back to the human psychology piece, to create that tension and help someone to take action. And I'm gonna keep saying this as well, that is an act of service. If someone has a challenge or a problem that's big enough that they need a solution, keeping them in tension so that you can give them a solution, I think is of service. 50, I win. Well, 44 and 50. Well, I like this. We've got a good decade in here. 50, I gotta say I'm looking forward to that as well. I was just talking with Eric, my husband, one quick side tangent here, y'all. But we were talking yesterday and I was saying how much I really believe every decade gets better and better. And so often people talk about like, oh, like I wish I was like, could go back to 21, like the good old days. I mean, I loved being 21, but I more think I wish I could go back and tell 21-year-old me, like, it just gets better and better. Anyway, that's my little side tangent there. Okay, how about problems that people do not consciously know they have? I think that's a great question. So I think one of two things. I think one, if someone does not consciously know they have this problem, that's kind of what we're talking about with the problem awareness. I think then part of your job, if that is the main problem you solve, part of your job becomes, how do I educate people and create awareness around this problem? It might be in content as well as copy, but we really want to help people understand that this is something that's going on. And sometimes I think that can be the case a lot. You know, I think I do a lot of problem awareness content around mindset as it relates to either preventing you from making money in your business or being the catalyst for blowing up your business and bank account, right? I sometimes have to create awareness around that. So I think just seeing, okay, maybe I need to create some content so people do become aware of this. Or what you can think about as well is, what are they aware? What's the presenting problems? I think for a lot of us, we have a symptom, so to say, right? So if I'm not aware consciously of a problem, I'm probably consciously aware of my symptom of that problem. And so sometimes that symptom can be the piece you can speak to in your copy. So for example, if someone's not aware that mindset is the piece that is really, like, the way they're thinking and managing their thoughts is really the thing that's sabotaging their business and it's sabotaging their sales process, and that's why they're not getting booked out. That's an example, but like they just weren't aware of that. Maybe I would speak to the symptom of that problem, which might be you have a really hard time booking clients, you have a really hard time on sales conversations, and you think you suck at sales. So I don't know if that's helpful for you, but just thinking through, can I do some problem awareness, copy content, or can I speak to the symptom? Ruth says, oh, absolutely. 40s have been a combo of confidence and not giving a shit, which is powerful and fun. Amen to that. I so agree with that. There's a great quote about that. I don't know who says it, but it's sort of like, at one age you think everyone, I'm not even gonna go there because I'm gonna totally butcher it, but it's essentially that as you get older, you stop giving that many shits. You just give less and less shits. And it is very powerful. It is very fun. It's great for business too. It's way more fun in business that way as well. I will say I have way more fun in this business than when I was acting, for sure. And part of that is probably the age, and then the rest is the mindset stuff. Okay, so with this, before we go into the frameworks, I think just kind of what we're talking about here, the reminder I want to share is, I mean this in the nicest way possible. No one cares about you or I until we give them a reason to care, until we help them understand why they should care. Meaning especially when we're writing copy, which again, it's designed to persuade someone to take action, we have to think, how can we make this about someone else? And then how can we teach them why they should care, which is usually because you have something they want that's going to help them get what they want. And then you can include all the other things, but we as humans are, and I also mean this in, like, this is just a human nature thing. We are all the centers of our own universe. And I think sometimes we forget that when we're writing copy. We write it as though we're the center of the universe as opposed to our clients or audience. And so of course it needs to be an integrity. This is like doing things on your terms, and you get to have work you love. We're not saying it's not about you at all, but I think the more we can think about how can I make this about putting my people as the center of the universe, the more it's really gonna have them understand how you can support them, how you can be the solution they need. It also makes people feel heard and understood, I think. Okay, so let's talk about some frameworks. Let me know if you have questions so far. Anyone, if anything comes up. We had a great question just now, so definitely keep the questions coming if you have any. So I'm gonna share 2 simple frameworks. Again, there are other copywriting frameworks. This is not to like put anyone on rudders. You can do all the things wrong, and if you get an iota of this right and you're putting things out from a place of confidence, that is going to convert more. And really big companies that have way more money than any of us at our disposal invest a lot of money and resources into advertising agencies. I used to work in advertising, and into what compels people to buy, and into research, and into copywriting frameworks. And this is a whole, field that people have spent a lot of time studying and learning. And there are some proven frameworks, not formulas, but proven frameworks that mimic how we think, and that mimic really what is going to help someone understand why they need to take action. So I also think, while yes, free flow, and if that serves you, absolutely, some of my copy is not following any of that. And sometimes that is because it's from the heart, what converts the best. And when you're stuck, when you don't know what the heck to write, when you're like, oh my gosh, if like, I'm just like trying to like look at 500 people's posts on Instagram for inspiration, you don't know what to do, I think frameworks can be really helpful. And I think they're also just a really easy thing to like plug and play with, and they work. So why not work them? So that's my spiel on those. So the two most common, the one I probably use the most, has the acronym PAS, P-A-S. And I'm just gonna walk through what that is, and then we'll talk a little bit about just a few more tips to close out on how to use and leverage these the best for your copy. So P stands for problem, A stands for agitate, S stands for solution. So it's really helpful because it just gives you a little framework for kind of what order to put your copy, your words in to create that tension we're talking about, and then to help lead someone to taking action. So problem, again, it's exactly what we're talking about. How can you create awareness around the problem someone has? And I want to keep reminding you the specific problem they have. Specifics always sell. So the more you can specifically talk to the problem that's showing up for someone, and go back and think about some of the things we've been talking about in today's workshop when we were talking about getting into the mind of your people. When you're speaking to the problem, think about writing this in a way where it's like, how can I write this in a way where it's like, this is what they're thinking, this is what they're going through. A really easy hack, if you're super stuck, open with a question. Are you feeling this? Do you always feel this? Do you experience this? Our brains have a want to fill in questions, so they're really great attention grabbers. It's really hard for us to see a question and not like at least subconsciously want to fill it in. So that can be, if you're stuck, really easy. It's probably why I see a lot of copy open with questions. Next, agitate. So agitate is where I always think for my heart-centered folks, this is the one that feels a little like, but I'm gonna help you see why this is great for your copy, but also why it's not so yucky. Agitate is essentially rubbing a little salt in the wound. We've just spoken to the problem. It's helping someone see, it's creating tension. It's helping someone see, this is a big enough problem, you need to solve this. We're gonna rub some salt in the wound so that you're aware this is going on, so you're not ignoring it. Now, I know that sounds maybe like not the nicest thing in the world to rub salt in the wound, but we have to think, if we are service providers and we're walking around with a solution that can help people ease their challenges, have a better life, ease their pain, and we're not doing our job to help someone see we can help them, I think it's actually kind of screwed up if we're sort of like, well, I don't want to make you feel bad, so I'm just not going to talk about this, but I'm just going to hope you can figure out that I can help you. I honestly think that is that's not heart-centered, and I think that's not of service. That becomes very self-centered because we're so worried about what people will think, or having someone upset at us, or ruffling feathers, or whatever that might be. And so I really think the most of service thing you can do is be really honest with, what are your people going through? What is that like? What is their experience? Help them see, hold up a mirror and say, hey, if this is you, again, I'm not gonna make you wrong, no shame in this, but like, this is what you're going through, like, hi, mirror. And then the S is for solution, and we're going to ease that tension with, and I have a solution that can help you. Remember what we were talking about earlier, this is where you get to specifically sell your offer, your work, your call to action as the solution, and we really want to be specific, not sell the concept of, but sell that specifically why you or your offer, and that's where we want to have our call to action. What I think with the solution piece, I think this is the part where I see when I'm reviewing stuff a lot, I see this is where we almost want to throw it away. I think we almost want to pull back. And I really want to invite you here to challenge yourself, especially with the free things you're offering. I find whenever we're offering free stuff, we think, well, it's free. Like, I shouldn't have to sell it. People should just know why this is amazing. But I think free can be so vague to people, and free is still not free, right? This is free, but you've given me an hour of your time, which I'm so grateful for. It's why I'm literally offering a free coaching session to someone, because I know your time is valuable. If you're giving someone a free download, they're still giving you their email address and precious real estate in their inbox, right? So free is never really that free, and I think we have to remember that. But also, there's a lot of noise online. So if we don't let people know why, we have to sell free as well, and specifically why that's the solution to sign up for, people are generally not gonna click through. So I think just, again, this is where I'll see someone just say, like, for my free coaching call here. That's beautiful and great. And can you specifically tell them why that free coaching call? What are they specifically going to get on the free coaching call? How specifically is that solution going to help them ease that tension and get the result they want? Remember, we talked about what's the result they want. Can you connect those dots for them? That is always going to help increase conversions because people are going to understand more. They're going to understand, oh, I'm in pain. This eases my pain and tension, and then on the other side, I have the beautiful carrot that I want, like that's dangling for me. When we can set that up for someone, that makes it a lot easier for someone to take action if it's the right fit. Ruth says, I love that you have just articulated respect regarding people giving their email address, their inbox. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't give my email address to that many people. I think it's for anyone who's on my email list, thank you. That's why we lovingly bribe you with freebies, because I think it's very valuable. And I think for all of us as business owners, this is a little side tangent, but I appreciate you for bringing this up, Ruth. I think we have to remember that. I think we've almost gotten into a place in our industry and in this space where it's sort of like this, I'm not saying anyone here, but I just see this in our space where it's almost like, well, I'm giving this for free and like people should just be so lucky to have this, or I don't know, I deserve this. I think there just can be a mentality where we forget that, again, that there are humans on the other side who are bombarded, who have a lot of options and a lot of places vying for their attention and vying for their dollars and vying for their energy. And I think remembering that, I think that can just be a place I'm not saying anyone here, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but I think the more we can remember that, the more we can respect our audience and remember they're in this, like all of us are in that place. I think the more that we can be heart-centered and come from service, but the more I think it's frankly also going to support your sales. Where he says, I love having copy. When I send it, I like to say, I want to point out that I want to hear more about that, Ray. I like that phrasing very, very much. Okay, definitely want to hear more about that. Okay, so let's go to one other framework if y'all are liking the frameworks and those are helpful for you. And then I'm going to give you, what do we have? We have, I think, one more easy tip here and then a quick exercise for you. So we'll actually, I think maybe we'll wrap this up in under 90 minutes. We'll see. Again, let me know if you have questions or anything coming up. And for anyone hopping on live, be sure to comment if you want to enter for the free coaching session. Okay, so the other coaching framework here, and I didn't make these up. These are like tested and tried. These are, if you were to buy a copywriting course or if you were to get a copywriting book, they would teach you this. This is not out of Kim's brain. Everything else is out of Kim's brain on this, but I'm sharing these with you because again, I think they just make it a little easier to have the frameworks, and then you get to put all of your unique essence in the way you speak and your tone and your words and your like yumminess into it. But I do think it can just make it a little bit easier because I think content generally is a little bit more how we tend to speak and how we are used to creating. I do think copy and words that sell, I think it's a new muscle to work, and it's not necessarily what most of us didn't get into business to become copywriters unless you literally have a copywriting business, and most of us don't necessarily think through that lens when we're speaking. So I think this can help you kind of make that transition. So that's why I want to give those to you. Okay, so the other one, it's the acronym AIDA. I think those are very helpful because then that can help jog your memory. And when you're doing these, again, you can do whatever you want, but I find having this order, it really, again, works with the human psychology piece of it and kind of how we're creating that tension and then easing that tension. Think about it like it's like a good tease in dating, I think is sometimes the way I like to think about copy. So A stands for attention. So this is where we want to grab someone's attention. This is particularly when you're writing something for social media. We have to think we want to stop the scroll. This is where we want to grab someone's attention. Now, I think so often that gets taught as the way you grab attention is to write in all capital letters or to write in all bold or to essentially scream at someone. I think when I first started my business, someone was teaching like when you go live, you should grab their attention. So like, I don't know, dance or do something weird, or you have to be like super bold. I'm pretty sure if you're in this group, that is not the way you like to communicate. And so I really want to give permission here that grabbing their attention does not need to be all capitals. It does not mean you need to hop on a live and start dancing or screaming, like none of that. We get to go back to everything we talked about in our class today and think, grabbing attention can also mean saying something really directly that just speaks to the heart of someone. It can mean speaking to someone's problem in a way where it's like, they're like, oh my gosh, those are the words from my journal. We can grab someone's attention by being super quiet and soft. I use this example all the time, but I think about some of the most powerful acting performances that win Oscars. Think about how some of those are so subtle and so quiet, and sometimes you can't even tell what words they're saying. They've won an Oscar for it. But the reason is they grabbed your attention and they made you feel something, and you can't stop watching what they're doing and what their face is doing, and it's just so compelling. And then you could have another actor in another scene screaming and grabbing your attention, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even watch this. So I want you to think again. Let's use human psychology, how we connect, how you naturally communicate. Think through some of the things we talked about earlier in the live stream here. Grabbing attention is not, I mean, if that's how you can, I have clients who are super bold and loud. They might actually write in all caps because that's how they communicate. So we're not making that wrong either. But I think just seeing you really get to put your you-ness into this. This is just how can you grab attention. I do this a lot. I'll often just say something that feels like a truth smack or a truth bomb. That's a way to grab attention. It might be subtle, it might be quiet, but I know to my people, it's really gonna be like, ooh, okay, yes, that feels true. So just giving yourself permission there. And then just seeing there, what I like to think about with this framework is that first sentence there, that tells people if they should keep reading or not. I think about this a lot with anything we write, with copy, with content as well, with your emails. It's the same for your subject line. This is where you communicate with someone. This is for you or this is not for you. And so just thinking through grabbing attention that way too, where it's like, hey, like how can I make sure someone knows they should invest their valuable time to read the rest of this post? And if you're not sure kind of like how to tap into this, I think what can be helpful too is just notice what grabs your attention, what makes you stop your scroll, and just see, like, your people are probably similar to you, and that might give you some insight. But it's always that first line. I mean, maybe it's an image or something like that too. That could be your first line as well. Okay, so the I in I think it's Ada, I don't actually know how it's said. The I is for interest. This is really to stoke their interest. What you're going to do here is this is where you tell them what you grabbed attention with, why this matters. So it might be the problem you're speaking to. It might be the juicy result they want, but help them understand why this matters. So we're grabbing attention. We tell them why this matters. I think when we were promoting the podcast One Question, I think we probably used a kind of loose form of this where probably grabbed attention with something and then I really spoke to why this format, why one question, why this matters so much. So we just want to help create some interest. D is desire. So remember we talked about how people are driven for two reasons: to avoid pain, to seek pleasure, particularly when we're thinking about copy and what compels someone to take action. D is the desire part, right? So instead of, I think this is really nice here, instead of speaking to the pain, you really get to speak to the desire here. Here we're gonna want to fan some flames and help them see why this is something that is desirable to them. What do your people desire? Like, how can you paint a picture? I think what can be helpful with this framework to think about is almost like, how can you think about the transformation going from A to B, or like, this is me making a bridge. Like, how are we creating a transformation and bridge? And that's a lot of what you're doing. For many of you who are service providers, that's what you're doing in your work. And so that's something you can play with here. Sometimes I riff on these. I'm like almost tempted to riff on this, but let me go through this whole thing first. So we're grabbing their attention. You don't have to yell and scream. That's not what that means. We're gonna help stoke some interest, tell them why this matters. We're going to tap into their desire, paint a picture for them, kind of what's on the other side. I think a great sentence frame, if you're like really stuck for the desire piece, is, wouldn't it be nice if, or imagine if. I think we hear that a lot in copy, but like that's a way to paint a picture for someone. Stories, visuals, right? Like paint a picture of what are those results they want like. Imagine what it would be like to be booked out and making multi-six figures and to be running a team and to finally be doing the work you love. This is an example there. And then A is for call to action, for action. So that's where we want to pull everything together if you're using this framework and give them a really clear, specific call to action. So those are two frameworks. I'll go through them really quickly. PAS, P-A-S, speak to the problem, agitate the problem, speak to your specific solution, not the general solution or concept. Ida, I don't actually know how you pronounce that. A, grab their attention. I, stoke their interest. D, desire, how can we speak to desire, paint that desire, and then A, call to action. So those are two. You can play with those. You can play within those. They're frameworks. They're not formulas. They're not, templates to fill in, but you can take everything we've been talking about earlier in today's masterclass and plug those pieces in. When you think about and tap into your people's mindset, when you tap into how are they thinking about things, when you tap into their problem and your specific solution and what you want people to know about you, like all of these pieces, you can then plug that into these frameworks, and that will make it a little easier. And then you can also, I think this can just help with that self-trust piece where you're like, well, I know these are frameworks that are tested and tried. So if I use these and I'm trusting myself, this is going to be great. Let me go put it out into the world. Please, again, if I find out anyone like worked on one of these for 3 weeks and didn't post it, my heart is gonna be broken. I like really want to invite everyone to play with these things and like to get them out as quickly as possible, because really perfect content that sits on your computer that doesn't get out into the world is not content that copy, I should say, is not copy that converts. It's also not content that converts. Copy that you work on and you do the best you can, you put onto the world, that's what converts. So I'm gonna keep saying that to everyone here. Okay, last thing here, 2 pieces to tie this all together. Last little tip, really easy piece here that I wanted to speak to was that call to action piece. So when you've shared your solution and we talked about how, really tying that to the results, the benefits, the specifics there, I think something that's just really like the simplest thing you can play with here is just to remember direct call to actions convert better. And if we think about why this is, or direct call to action, so you know what I'm talking about, it's instead of, hey, if you'd like to book a free call here, or if you'd like to click this link, or if this feels like something you'd be interested in, book a link here, or if you're interested in this, click here. That's more of a passive call to action. A direct call to action would be something more like, ready to invest in one-on-one coaching, ? Book a free call here, book your free coaching consultation here, sign up for this free masterclass here. It is a direct call to action. I'm directly telling you this is the next step you want to take. There's a few reasons for this. One, it puts you back into your power, right? I think sometimes it's otherwise we're almost like back into that mindset of like trying to be a little passive and like want to make sure I'm not bothering anyone. And I think we have to remember that if you're saying you can help someone, the thing that's going to help someone feel the safest and most supported is if you're standing there saying, I am confident, I got you, I can help you, this is your problem, this is the solution, here's what you do next. What's not gonna help someone feel confident to invest in you or to sign up with you if you're like, hey, you've got this problem, hey, I've got this solution that like, I don't know, I kind of feel okay with, and like maybe if you want to, you could like book a link or like, but maybe not, like it's also okay if you don't want to. That if I have a really big challenge or problem, I'm on to the next one. I share this on a podcast as well, but I'm going to repeat it here. Everyone I think knows, or I assume everyone knows because I talk about this all the time, but I am doing a form of therapy called EMDR, which I highly recommend. And last year, when I was looking for a therapist, I interviewed a couple of therapists, and this has to do with words to sell, I promise. I ruled out a handful of therapists because when it came to their call to action, when it came to their sales pitch, when it came to selling me, their words that sell, they qualified, they shrunk back. And oftentimes they didn't give me a direct, clear call to action and next step. And what happened is instead of me feeling supported and instead of me feeling like, oh, this person is confident that they can help me with my trauma, that they can really support me, I'm gonna be so held and taken care of, like this is a safe space for me, I felt like I need to coach them first of all. And then I felt like, well, I don't actually know if you can help me. I don't know if you believe you can help me. I don't know if you just started yesterday and maybe you don't believe in yourself. I don't actually know the next thing I need to do now. I feel like I have to caretake you now. I feel like I have to make you feel better. Suddenly the roles got reversed. And so that's why here, if we just think about a direct call to action, I know it seems like such a subtle thing, but I think this is one of those places where we can see it. It's subtle, but it goes back to what we were speaking with the mindset component of when we're, I mean, look, people will still book even if you don't have a direct call to action. I'm sure I have tons of imperfect copy floating out there from 6 years ago that we still use that doesn't have this, but it is going to convert at a higher level. And the more you can take that mindset that goes into it of, hey, the more direct I can be, the more I can say, you got this problem, I've got a solution, I can help you, I know I can help you, here's the next step you take, the more safety you create for the person taking action, whatever that might be, signing up for your email list or investing in a 100K, package with you, whatever that, like to either extreme. The other piece here I think is just helpful to remember is we're so bombarded by things. If we start in our sales process, in our copy process, giving people lots of options and expecting them to figure things out, we're really asking them to do a lot of heavy lifting for us. The more we can say, I got you, I'm just gonna tell you what the next step is, the easier we're making it for someone, the more we're being of service. So again, I know it's a very subtle thing, but I think we can just see why a subtle thing like that can make a big difference and how you can apply that mindset to all of your copy and seeing, I'm gonna be coming from a place of service and from a place of confidence and really trying to think, how can I let my people know I got you? And here's the next step you take. Here's what this looks like. Do this. You don't even have to think about it. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Ruth says, yeah, could be easy to go down a rabbit hole, but over analyzing, thinking about your content before pressing enter. It is, I think this is something, again, I won't go down a rabbit hole addressing this, but I think that's really common. And for anyone who finds they want to overthink or over edit or over analyze or overwork their content, you are normal. I think this is something I talk about with so many of my clients around. I think this is a great opportunity to check in with why, like what's the thing under the thing here. I think for some of my clients, it's enoughness. Sometimes they're, it's a perfectionism thing, right? It's a like way to try to create safety. Sometimes they're worried about rejection. Sometimes they're actually worried about success or fear of success. But I think just checking in there, because I think that's also going to give everyone, or like if this comes up for anyone, just a really interesting insight as to what's actually the thing that's making you want to rework things, like the real core thing to address, because that's probably showing up not just in content, but also in copy and in sales calls and all over the place in your business. So it can be really helpful to identify that. Again, super normal. We all have something, but I think just helpful then so you can kind of self-coach yourself through that piece. And then I'll share this, one of our rules in my business, because I am a recovering perfectionist. If you gave me enough time, I could rework so many things. But then we would literally, we put out a live stream every week, a podcast every week, a blog every week, a piece of content every week. 3 mini lessons on Instagram every week. We put out a lot of content. If I was overworking and over analyzing everything, I would never be able to serve clients. I also have a full roster of clients. So one of the biggest gifts I've given myself is really getting into the practice of I do something once and then it's done. I have someone on my team who will check for, like grammar mistakes. If it's a piece of written content, I'll write it once and then I'll review it once and then that's it. And then we move on to the next thing, because otherwise it's just such, from a business perspective, everyone hears in terms of ROI and what drives your business forward, this will cost you so much in your business, because it either costs you time that costs you money in business, it costs you from missing opportunities because you're not putting the work out there. And then later on when you have team, it's gonna cost you team time, because that's gonna get transferred to people you're paying to kind of overwork things. So again, I'm on a tangent here, but I think, Ruth, thank you, because I think that's actually a really important piece and probably one of the biggest things that can trip business owners up. And again, either keep us from missing potential income and clients, but also really cost us a lot of resources in our business. Hey, great point about the call to action. It's a leadership issue. Nice to see you. That makes me happy. I'm always worried I'm going to pronounce your name incorrectly. Is it Rian or is it Rianne? Let me know if the phonetics on that, but thank you for being here. And a shout out to Satori, because you support me. Satori is where I, what we use for client bookings and for booking calls and running invoices. And Rianne, okay. Rianne is support there, and she's amazing, and she's helped me so many times because I'm not good at technology. So thank you for being here, but I'll just give a shout out to Satori while I'm here. I've been using that platform and tool for a couple of years now, and it saves me so much time, talking about saving time in your business. Laura says, I love you and I love this conversation, taking lots of notes. I'm off to dinner. We'll come back and catch the replay. Thank you. I love you back so much. Enjoy dinner. Thank you for being here, Laura. And it's a long one. Thank you all for hanging. We're going to wrap this up now, but thank you all for being here. This is a very long one. Rianne says, as if blushing. And Laura says, oh yes, Rianne. Connor, hello. You've helped me so much too. A little love fest here. You're famous in our space, Rianne. Okay, so that was the last piece there. I'm actually going to wrap this up for y'all. So we're gonna put a little bow on this, as I like to say. We're gonna put a post in this. When my client was joking about all the Kimisms, I like to say we're gonna tie this up in a bow. We're gonna put a pin in this. We're gonna wrap this up. So that's what we're gonna do here. And Rianne says LOL. So in summary here, the words you use, the words you speak to yourself, and the words you speak to others are so important, and we are selling ourselves and we are selling others all freaking day long, whether we're aware of it or not. And the more we can be conscious of the words you use, remember you're advertising to yourself all day, the words you use to sell to yourself and the words you use to sell to others, the more you can be intentional about those and conscious about those, the more you're going to be able to craft words in your business that help you sell. And it is one of the biggest tools and assets you have in your business, because remember, for all of us, whatever it is you sell, we are selling humans to humans. Even if it doesn't feel like it, we're all selling to humans. We are in the business of human relationships. We are in the business of understanding humans and being able to speak words to them that make them feel seen, heard, understood, safe enough to invest through you, and helping them get to know, like, and trust you. So remembering that piece, I think, will serve everyone, even if you throw everything else away. I think remembering that part. We talked about the mindset, really understanding your mindset as well as the mindset of your people, and bringing both to your business and your words that sell, bringing both of those pieces. We talked about really making sure when you're looking at words that sell, the kind of 3 pieces there we want to think about. Problem awareness, what's the problem your person, I always think of one person at a time, but what's the problem they're aware they have? What is the benefit, the result they think they want? They want, not the result they want for them. And then really being clear on specifically why your offer, why your service, why what you're selling is the specific solution, as opposed to selling the concept of something. So easy for us to get into those generalizations. And then we went over to to copy frameworks. These are tested and tried. PAS, problem, agitate, solution, and AIDA, AIDA. Grab attention, I was about to say awareness. Grab attention, stoke their interest, stoke their desire, and then give them that call to action. That's kind of our little bullet points there. I will make sure we send a replay as well as the bonus cheat sheet. If you didn't sign up, there's a cheat sheet. It has over 200 power words. The way you can use this, we didn't get to talk about that too much, but these are all essentially adjectives, but they're really from the frame of words you can insert that help people, it's words that sell, that help infuse your copy and really help elevate it so that we're tapping into people's emotions. And they're just some really powerful words that you can sprinkle throughout. We like to tease a lot in my copy, tease something out, not give all the answers away. And we really like to bring in some of those words that really help juice it, pump it up, power it up, I don't know, a little bit. And so I'll literally go through here sometimes when I'm stuck. I think at this point, again, it's all like, it's in there because I've been doing it so long, but I definitely used to reference this and I give it to my clients. So we made that for you. That is, if you sign up, you'll get that. If you didn't sign up, KimArgetSinger.com/words-that-sell. You'll get it when we send out the replay. And then for any of you, I can put this into action. For any of you who are like, this was great, and I know that I have a few gaps when it comes to either my own mindset and how I think about my work, or when it comes to tapping into the words that my people are thinking and how they're thinking about this, and really that messaging that goes into my copy. Or I got this part down, but I'm sort of like, all right, mindset piece, I'm getting in my own way a little bit. I'm sort of like more where we're talking about like overworking things and not actually hitting press and like submitting it into the world. I'm like overthinking and never sharing with my people. Or I'm just not sure how to apply this to my strategy because I don't have a strategy that's really well oiled, that I know if I use these words and I put this into my strategy, that's reliably gonna bring me clients and income and really do so in a way that feels good and in integrity and that doesn't make me feel, I don't know, like I'm doing some bro marketing tactics. If that's you, that is what I help my clients with all day long. I humbly will say, I think I'm very, very good at what I do, and my clients and I get really incredible results. I also love the people I work with, and I love getting to support clients one-on-one. So if that is you, I will drop a link for a discovery call. Here's a clear, direct call to action. Book a free call to chat with me. It's completely pressure-free. I'm very, very big on fit. I recently told 2 people who were amazing humans, and I referred them to someone else, so they weren't necessarily a fit for my work. So I'll be the first person to tell you. Many of my clients work with me for years, and I want to make sure this is a good fit. It's a big investment if you're working with a coach. We have a coaching intensive I'm opening up in March. So that's a great opportunity if you want to dive into the copy and content in your business and map out a clear content and copy strategy so you really know exactly what to focus on and what pieces to implement to reliably bring in income in your business. That is great for that. We can also look at your sales process. And then if you are looking more at the ongoing coaching, I'm not sure exactly when the next spot opening up is, but book a call and that'll put you on first availability for our next opening. Rianne says, thanks, Laura. Nice to see you too. They were chatting. Jess says, thank you, Kim. Ruth says, great session, Kim. You've made me stay up way after my bedtime, but well worth it. Well, thank you for staying up with me. Yeah, for my friends who are in the European time zone. I'm sure it's very late, so thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. I really value all of you and your time. Again, we will pick wish I could give everyone a free coaching session, but we will pick someone from here today who left a comment. We'll pick it in the morning. So for anyone who watches after this to win a free coaching session, we'll reach out via DM. So just keep your eyes open for that. And then we'll be back next week with another live stream. I love you all. I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging with me. Bye.